This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive. It is a Victory Monday here, sort of, in Pittsburgh, because you don't get a lot of time to enjoy a victory over the Ravens on Sunday. I was right, Matt was wrong. But
apparently I caught a bunch of heat for picking against the Steelers.
A lot of people were very upset with you on
I should just pick them every time no matter what.
Apparently that is the case.
Okay, duly noted.
They were also very upset, some people, that apparently on another podcast you said Myles Garrett is better than TJ Watt.
Yeah, I have said that.
You have said that.
And it never goes over particularly well. I think they are 0.0001% different, but I think Micah Parsons, Bosa, Watt, Garrett are all Hall of Fame caliber elite edge guys. And he would be my pick if he only got one.
I think you're wrong, but that's
I get it.
Neither here nor there. Anyways.
Side note. So I did pick the Ravens. 5 minutes before kickoff, put a couple bucks on the Steeler money line. Just
He's Matt Williamson.
Yep.
I'm Dale Lolley. This
full
is The
disclosure.
Drive on
tell me how dumb I am.
Steelers Nation Radio. And, the Steelers pull out an 18-16 victory over the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. And it was – everybody thought this was going to be a higher scoring game.
Yeah.
And the Steelers, once again, turned it into a ruck fight.
They did. I mean, things don't change. I mean, a lot of really good football, and then a lot of Lamar didn't look like Lamar. I didn't think Wilson looked like Wilson. I thought that, things in the margins, as we expected, greatly favored the Steelers. I thought the Steelers had a coaching advantage throughout the game. I don't know if home field advantage was huge or a softer field after the Pitt game or whatever, but they always end up the
Justin
same.
Tucker tried to blame
that's why
that.
I brought that up, because he's the only one kicking on it. The other guy made 6 for 6. You know what I mean?
Including 3 from 50 plus. Justin, the field was the problem.
But
wasn't you?
Steelers Ravens is just kind of always the same, and lately the outcome's always the same.
8 out of 9.
Pretty crazy.
8 out of 9 for the Steelers. They now have essentially a 2-game lead in the AFC North because it's 2 games in the loss column.
Right.
And realistically, 3 games when you start considering tiebreakers.
Okay. Yeah,
because that was the Ravens' second division loss. The Steelers don't have any because they've only played 1 division game.
Baltimore hasn't had their bye, folks. That's part of that.
Yeah,
right.
And so that game was monumental yesterday in terms of
just the standings and the math of it all, even. Right.
The Steelers are now the favorite to win the AFC North.
They should be.
They were not the favorite going into that game.
Right.
Even, all the metrics, anybody that if you look on Aaron Schatz's website, going into that game, Baltimore was favored to win the division. They had like a 70% chance to win the division, and the Steelers were maybe 60-something percent, and the Steelers were in the 30s. That's flip-flop now.
It's amazing that one game can do that much when you're playing them again.
Yeah.
And you got all your division games still ahead of you, too, and there's a lot of football left, and people could get hurt and all that stuff. But just from a mathematics standpoint and all that, it is a massive game. I also just think that's your first time that your starting quarterback has ever been in this game, or your starting center, your starting right guard, your top linebacker is on the other side
of your
of
cornerbacks.
it. Right. Like, it's a good one to get under your belt, and kind of like Mike Tomlin would say to Patrick Queen, you're not a Raven until you beat the Steelers. Well, there's a lot of people that aren't Ravens then, obviously. But you get your first Ravens win, I think it goes a long way for what this team aspires to be.
It was really an interesting game, the chess match that went on between the 2 teams in this game. Mm-hmm. Now, Baltimore had 10 days to prepare for this thing.
Yeah.
And they changed some things schematically.
They did some things that they don't usually do.
Yeah. Kyle Hamilton's playing 25 yards off the line of scrimmage at free safety pretty much the entire game. There were situations where they walked him up to the line of scrimmage, but by and large it was Darius Washington who was in the box, and Hamilton was
about
back
half his size.
Yeah. Basically double teaming
I'd say it's on
George
Pickens'
Pickens.
sides, too.
Yeah, always on Pickens' sides, always kind of bracketing him or shadowing him over the top because he's a 6'4" safety.
Yes, right. And athletically, that's a match for Pickens. You know, and Pickens has an advantage over any of their corners. I get why they would do that, but as a response, you got worse versus a run.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think there was a little bit of hubris there that our run defense is the best in the league. Our pass defense is the worst in the league. They're going to come out throwing 60 times, you know, so we're going to bait them into lesser boxes and we can still stop their run despite not having our best people doing it. And then Roquan got hurt, which made it much worse as well.
When Roquan Smith went out, it was over.
Right. It was over. And I think that was misjudged. I mean, clearly in my opinion, what they feared most was Pickens over the top down the sidelines. You know,
they were going to take that away. And the Steelers,
as much as possible,
Russell Wilson in particular didn't adjust to that. Like he kept trying, they kept looking for those shots, and that's when the sacks were happening.
Yep.
You know, he was sacked 4 times, although the one sack shouldn't have been a sack. He's running towards the line of scrimmage like a ball. Like he was in the pocket, looking. Okay, started scrambling towards the line of scrimmage, and then slid and just happened to slide at the down marker. And they called that a sack. That's not,
okay. I didn't realize they.
If that had been Lamar, you wouldn't have called it a sack.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But no, I think the Steelers were going to take their shots. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But I also think Wilson, maybe it wasn't his sharpest game throwing the football and getting the ball out of his hands and all those things too. But I don't know that quarterbacks between Ben and Wilson would have consistently got the offense in the correct plays against the looks that they were getting that were probably somewhat unexpected. I mean, he probably thought Hamilton would be closer to the line of scrimmage, wouldn't favor Pickens so heavily. And, they were able to manufacture yardage other ways,
Yeah. I'll say this. So they adjusted in the second half, and Wilson began taking some of those checkdowns that were there. He took some of them in the first half, but they were taking too many sacks and negative plays, which put you way behind the chains. So once they started doing that in the second half, he was 11 of 16 for 129 yards. Did throw the bad interception.
Right, that's an inexcusable play.
Immediately, I start getting people, well, you said he doesn't do that in the red zone on social media and on our YouTube page. If that's your reaction
he's waiting for this guy to make one mistake.
You're a pretty crappy human being.
I mean, he's not going to be perfect.
No.
Right. It was a really, really bad play.
And I get it. If you're a Justin Fields fan, God love you. All right? Here's the fact of the matter. When Russell Wilson fumbles 6 times in 6 games, come talk to me. All right? Because those matter. And I love Justin Fields. I still think Justin Fields can be a good quarterback in this league.
Yeah, I think he's going to play a role this upcoming game.
Yes, he will. He played a role in yesterday's game.
Yep.
I think Russell Wilson's a better quarterback for this team.
I 100% agree.
That doesn't mean I hate Justin Fields.
It's not one or the other.
Quarterbacks will make mistakes. And
that was a terrible one.
It was a bad one.
I mean, there's no question about it. And frankly, I don't know, was he trying to throw it away or was he just too high for Washington?
I think it was too high for Washington.
I thought so, too.
And I think Washington thought he was trying to throw it away.
Yes, because I didn't think his effort to break it up was
he didn't
bad.
react to the ball at all. Just kind of like, oh, wait, no, I'm going to.
He may not even know there was someone behind him. I don't know that either.
Well, I saw that at the snap of the ball. Before they snapped the ball, I looked. I'm like, Marlon Humphrey's on Darnell Washington in this situation because Washington was in the slot. He was a little detached. I'm like, that's a weird matchup.
In a tight red zone situation.
In a tight red zone situation, you wouldn't think you'd take your best coverage guy and put him on Darnell Washington.
Yeah.
But I think that's just how it ended up.
It probably just threw motion, and maybe that's how Arthur Smith designed it. You know what I mean? Like the way that they get this look, and they probably wanted to go that direction in a post-up situation. You're not going to run go routes from midfield, right, and against Humphrey. But if it's just me be big, and post you up. And it was a bad throw.
It was a bad throw.
Yeah, there's no way around that.
But, okay, it happened. The Steelers still get the victory. Can they be better in the red zone? Absolutely. That being said, I thought they should have had a touchdown on the throw to Pickens in the end zone. And Tre'Davious White, who was another adjustment that they made. He hadn't been playing at all.
Yeah, he actually held up pretty well.
Well, yeah, held up is the key word.
Is one of the big words. Yeah,
he was pretty grabby.
He was
and
very
they let
grabby,
him get away with
and
it.
they got away with it. I thought he would be fresh fish, and he wasn't as bad as I thought, but he also got away with some things. Those are the big defensive adjustments they made. They made some on offense too that were uncharacteristic that I didn't understand at all. Yeah, I kind of understood these ones.
They
more
took
than the
the
other
bait,
side of the ball.
And honestly, I think. When Mike Tomlin said what he said earlier in the week about Deontay Johnson, I almost feel like he was trying to bait the Ravens into why don't you play Deontay Johnson? You made this trade for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not been a factor in your first 2 games. Why don't you put him out there a little more?
See how it goes,
and so they did that. They came out and they're playing some 11 personnel, and that's just not their personality.
I thought that was a huge mistake because it came at the expense of Henry.
Right.
I mean, when the bottom line is when you snap the ball 61 times and Henry's only on the field for 30 of them, everyone knows he wasn't on there for the 2-point conversion. But he's out there less than half your snaps.
He wasn't out there from like the 8.5-minute mark of the fourth quarter on.
Yeah.
Didn't play a snap.
And I get that that's hurry-up mode. That's 2-minute offense. He's
8.5 minutes?
Right. That's a long
That's
time.
a lot in a 1-score game.
And in a 2-point conversion where the Steelers called timeout and you could correct the error, he needs to be out there.
Yeah. That was the other situation where I thought Tomlin really outfoxed John Harbaugh. He waited until just before they snapped the football, and okay, I see what they're aligned in. Okay, I know what they're going to do here.
Tendencies here, yeah.
I know what they're going to do, and it was what they did. It's a Lamar jump pass. He kind of runs to the line of scrimmage and tosses it over because they leak somebody out. And he called timeout. The Ravens snapped the football and started to run that play, and it was too late. And then the Ravens, inexplicably, not only did they change the play, they went from their number 1
2-point
conversion play
right.
to their number 2 2-point conversion play.
But you know Harbaugh's telling Monken, we need our best one here. We got to have it, you know.
Yeah.
And how much did they even practice the second or third one down the list? You know what I mean?
Right.
There's only so much time.
But then you still don't put Henry on the field.
I said that was crazy to me.
Like, at the very least, even if you don't hand him the football, the Steelers have to be aware that he's on the field.
I say this all the time. Like, frankly, I would pick on Allen Robinson to some degree last year, or Gunnar Olszewski. And not that they were worthless Steelers, but I thought they were players that the opponent was saying, thank you for putting on the field. They're not hard to play against. Derrick Henry's unbelievably hard to play against.
Yeah.
Put him on the field.
Heck of a lot harder than Justice Hill.
Right.
They're not handing the ball to Justice Hill.
In the play you have to have.
The play you've got to have.
Yeah.
With the game on the line, you're not giving the ball to Justice Hill there. You're not throwing the ball to Justice Hill there.
No. And I think part of it was, and I understand why, teams are attacking the Steeler defense from 11. I mean, that they see as much 11 basically as any defense in the league. Okay, so maybe we'll bump it up a little. We'll play a little more 11. We won't be last in the league. We'll 10% more for this game. But don't go over the top when you're like the best offense in the league and you're making yourself play left-handed. That made no sense to me at all. And Lamar wasn't at his best. I mean, there's just no way around that.
They ran the ball 19 times.
Yeah.
19 times.
Including with a running quarterback.
This is now 4 games in a row where this offense that was supposedly an unstoppable running offense is averaging about 125 yards a game on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Because they continue to take the cheese.
Yeah.
They think they're smarter than they are.
Yeah.
And the Steelers made adjustments too, defensively.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of DeMonte KZ on in passing, obvious passing situations. KZ was at free safety, and Minkah Fitzpatrick's down in the box because he's covering the tight ends.
Yeah.
Whichever one would happen to be on the field.
Yep. And they know those are the whoobies, those are the middle of the field guys, and likely had some plays, and they weren't all on Minkah. But I thought that was an interesting use. I mean, it's something they hadn't seen. I was real concerned coming into this game, would they run as much man coverage as they did? Because I didn't think Sutton and Jackson played particularly well in man against Washington. And it didn't hurt them. There were some open guys that were missed. And they did. I mean, the numbers I read, which I never believe man zone numbers, were like 41%, which is really high. And it's a lot higher than the Steelers played. But I get it with Minkah. I mean, especially against those tight ends. And it worked.
I want to say Minkah gave up 2 catches.
Okay.
That I recall in coverage. Likely he got the 42-yarder early. That was not on Minkah.
Yeah, so
that was just a leak out on they faked a screen and leaked the tight end out.
Mm-hmm.
And
there really wasn't a closest defender situation.
Yeah. And likely fumbled on that other screen at the end of the first half. And yet, as soon as he would catch a ball or a tight end would catch a ball, I got an immediate response. Steelers still can't cover the tight end. I'm like, what decade are you living in?
This isn't Gronkowski. That's what that goes back to. It's like those heroes.
The Steelers have been very good against the tight end.
Their numbers are great.
Over the last 4, 5, or 6 years.
What tight ends have beat them up this year? I mean, Brock Bowers okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Pitts had a touchdown catch against him. That's all he did.
Right. Yeah, it's not Gronkowski against a nickel corner like it used to be. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep up here, folks. You got
a little bit. That's why you listen.
Yeah. But if you look at, Zay Flowers, 6 targets, 2 catches for 39 yards. Bateman, 5 targets, 2 catches for 30 yards.
There was a point listening to the broadcast where it was late in the game, and they said the Baltimore wide receivers have 2 catches.
Yeah.
A lot of that was like on the last
Flowers
drive,
had the one catch.
Right.
Yeah, that's when they got a bunch of that. Before that drive,
you're running a lot of 11, and your receivers aren't catching the ball.
Lamar ended up 8 for 15 for 87 yards and a touchdown with the interception in the second half. At one point in the second half, I looked, he was like 12 of he was 10 for 25 for 133 yards going into that last drive.
Wow.
10 for 25 for 133 yards.
That's not all that surprising. That's kind of how he played. It was his average time to throw was really high. Some of that's because he ran around for 5 seconds on a play or two that only he can do. But I never thought he was in rhythm. The timing, quick stuff, and people want to get the ball out of their hands quick against the Steelers, and I'm sure that was part of their equation. But I saw a lot of double clutching.
Well, there was a lot of that because the Steelers were getting their hands up in the passing lanes.
I'm glad that's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah.
My Super Steeler soup thing.
Yes.
Steeler swats and knocking the ball out.
Swats and brats. But yeah, they did.
They're great at the line of scrimmage.
I told Cam after the game, he was asked about batting a couple of passes down. I said, you need to come up with like a Mutombo and wag a finger at him.
I know. I feel like J.J. Watt, when he retired, just stopped by and taught them all how to be the best.
They were doing that
team
before
ever.
he retired.
I know,
though.
but I think they're great
at
it. Yeah, and it's not a uncommon thing. Every week, it's a couple of them. Jaden Daniels isn't the biggest pocket passer. Lamar's not the biggest. They're not the 6'5", throw it. Drew Bledsoe, throw it over the top of no matter who's in front of me. And you keep them bottled up. There has to be some sort of a claustrophobia in there. That's a tight pocket. There's not much room to operate.
They pressured Lamar on 40% of his dropbacks. He was 4 for 13 for 34 yards
when
under
pressure.
Under pressure. But that's nothing new here. This from Bill Barnwell's piece today on ESPN. The Steelers are allowing a QBR. That's ESPN's
that's their rating.
Of 2.2 when they pressure the quarterback. Out of a possible
100.
Opposing quarterbacks, when pressured by the Steelers, 23 of 79 for 104 yards with 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions when pressured. And when you throw the sacks in the equation, they're down to 1.0 yards per drop back when the Steelers get pressure or sack the quarterback.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't get any better.
No, and I know the sacks are down, but the pressure rate is still really high.
That's what I was about to say. The sack numbers are low, so people might be like, this front's kind of underachieving. The way they affect the game is massive.
Crazy.
And they do it with not much help. It's usually a
4 guys,
Right. So they greatly, greatly affect the game. And to Barnwell's point, your point, their pressures seem to matter more than other teams' pressures,
Yeah.
And it's hard to get pressures in under 2.5.
Again, as I said last week, T.J. Watt being on the field
is unbelievable, right?
Even before the snap, he's pressuring the quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
You know that guy's there.
You're only allowed to send 5 out in a route, and if 6 are blocking at least every snap, basically, plus a quarterback, this doesn't leave a lot of guys to make plays first 7.
Yeah.
This is pretty simple math,
Yeah. So I think, we can effectively say now the Steelers have Lamar Jackson's number.
He's going to need to adjust how he plays against this team.
His career passer rating going into that game against them was 66.4.
Yeah.
His passer rating yesterday was 66.2.
Yeah.
And that was helped out by the touchdown pass at the end of the game that
Sure. It's kind of a bigger picture note, but it's something we brought up around draft time. I have no problem with Rosengarten or Wiggins. They're top 2 picks. But they're finesse-ish. Zay Flowers, really good player. He's little. Linderbaum, really good player.
Tiny.
He's little.
Yeah.
Like, are they trying to beat the Chiefs or are they trying to win the division? These are all high picks.
Well, see, this is the problem that the Steelers ran into in 2017.
And I think Buffalo fell for this trap too.
You
now
built
Buffalo
yourself.
Realized
Hey, we got to.
Yeah,
we got to beat
right.
We're not worried about the division as much now. We're not worried
Right.
about other teams. We got to figure out how to beat the or at that point it was the Patriots. How
The
do we beat
Patriots,
the
right.
Patriots? So okay, we're gonna get faster at the second level. We're gonna get lighter at linebacker. Here come the Jacksonville Jaguars in, and they pound the ball down your throat.
You got to be who you are, and I think there's a little bit of an identity crisis in Baltimore.
You have
right
to
now.
be able to do both things.
Right. Or
Ideally,
dictate the way that the game is played. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think Mike Tomlin does as good a job as that as any coach in the league.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, again, that's a lot of high picks I just cited that are finesse-ish. That doesn't mean they're bad players, but that's not Steelers
Not who
Ravens.
they are. Yeah,
right,
it's
right.
not what this is.
Right.
And I think you might see the similar situation with the Bengals when the Steelers play them later in the season because they can't block anybody.
I was going to say they're not physical at the line of scrimmage. No, it's all Burrow.
Yeah, all Burrow. And he's great.
He's great.
But he's
getting wonderful.
He got the snot beat out of him last night.
He does every game. Man, he's
I
lucky
kept
he has
waiting
those
for him to
receivers,
not
right.
get up. Like, hey, stay down, champ.
Right. He played an unbelievable second half. But
yeah,
I tweeted out his numbers in their losses. They're amazing. He has like an 18-2 touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah.
And there's just not enough around him.
No. And you saw the quote from Jamar Chase today, like, hey, I just run what they tell me to run, and, go ask Zach about why some of this stuff is happening. Like,
that's not what you want to hear.
No,
Right.
Some of those guys might be wondering, do I really want to re-sign here?
Mm-hmm.
Is this what I want to do?
Back. I mean,
no.
I read something about it now. I think Mike Sando wrote it. Like, laid it all out. Like, is the Bengals window slamming shut?
It might be.
It might be.
I
love what Burrow said. The window's open as long as I'm here. That is cool. I wish he could be my quarterback any day of the week. But you need teammates.
Yeah. It's not a one-man show. And that was kind of Cam Hayward's point after the game yesterday because he was asked about Lamar. And everybody's talking about Lamar. He said, hey, we got good players on our side of this too.
Yeah, and that defense just doesn't have a lot of holes.
Yeah.
Where do you attack the defense now? I am not real sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't think the Ravens are either.
I'm not sure they're real certain about it either,
But we're going to get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. When we return, we'll hear from Rob King and what his thoughts were on yesterday's Steelers win right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're joined on the Justin Miller hotline by Rob King, the Steelers play-by-play announcer and Kinger. 8-2. How's that sound to you?
Sounds good to me, man. Sounds really good. Don't care how it happens. Don't care how the results are. I love it. You beat a quality team, rivalry game, your place, first place by yourself. Love it.
There are still people questioning whether the Steelers are a good team or not. They're 5-0 against teams that are currently in the playoffs in the AFC and NFC.
They're a 5-game winning streak. That doesn't happen by accident in the NFL.
Well, you don't have to convince me.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys. I believe they are, and I believe they're a good team for a number of reasons. I think that, the defense is better than it's been in a long time. Well, not a long time, but I just think they're a little bit better than the defenses the last couple of years. That's been the main reason that in the running game that they've gotten into the playoffs. I think their special teams are elite. And I think they've got a 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback, and I think future Hall of Famer quarterback, and that makes a world of difference as well. I just think that in every way possible, this team is a better team than the one we've gotten used to. And look, man, you can excuse fans to some degree because for the last 4 or 5 years, this has been a team that's been trying to get into the playoffs. They haven't won a playoff game. They haven't really felt like a threat. They've played some top teams and really gotten handled on several occasions. And so people forget that, this is what it kind of like you forget. This is what a 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback looks like. This is what a quality, really good football team looks like. And they look like 8-2 and in first place.
You mentioned special teams. I do think it is elite, and that's a big word. And anyone on the planet could see the kicker advantage. I think everyone realizes that the blocked kick situation is rare. But you mentioned this on another show, and I did some homework since we talked last. We've talked a lot today. The Steelers punt team is as good as any in the league too. And I didn't realize how strong that area was.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking it up going into the Ravens game, and they were allowing 2.7 yards per return. That's best in the NFL. And so, and they don't. In the past, Mike Tomlin is always even talking about his punters. Said, look, we don't just look at average, and we don't even just look at net. Sometimes we look at situational punting and the way they break things down. Well, I can just look at the raw numbers and tell you that's the best in the league. There's nobody better at covering punts than the Steelers. They've got a punt return for a touchdown. And then you mentioned the blocks as well. It's been a unit that's made a difference. And, Matt, you've always used the expression with me, and I'm sure with Dale and with others, as, winning in the margins, finding different places, to try to get an edge on the opponent. And, look, the great teams do that too, right? The great teams win in the margins, but there's also some place they can beat you or some place where they can play with you, other places. And I think that, the Steelers have always felt, Steelers fans would always feel good about their defense, say, over the last couple of years. But you're going against a Buffalo Bills team, you'd say, well, we have to win the turnover battle. We might even have to get 2 turnovers, more than them. We might need something to happen in special teams. Well, I don't think you need to do that anymore, but you're getting those things as well. So that makes you, to me, a formidable team. You not only can win in the margins, but you can go out there and, do what no other team has been able to do against Lamar and Derrick Henry. That's hold them under 20 points, hold them under 375 yards. No team had done that. And then, offensively, the last 3 games, they averaged 30.3 points per game when Russell Wilson became the starter. And you have the special teams, and you have the turnover margin. That to me, if I was describing another team, if I was describing another team, somebody would be, it's great. That team sounds great. Well, that's your team. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and Rob, I thought one of the keys to yesterday's victory was what the Steelers did in the second half of the game, controlling the ball with their offense. Yes, they weren't scoring touchdowns, but field goal, interception in the end zone, field goal, take a knee to end the game. Like you and you held the football 31 yards, 61 yards, 63 yards, 32 yards. They held the ball for over 20 minutes in the second half. And at some point, if you're a quarterback, and I don't care what quarterback you are, you start looking at the clock going, the Ravens had 1 possession in the third quarter.
Yeah.
1.
Right.
And so if you're a quarterback, you're bound to start looking at the clock and you're going, how many more possessions am I going to get here? Our defense isn't stopping these guys necessarily. They're eating up a lot of clock.
The second half dominance is very real with this team.
Yeah, it was last week was the first time they'd given up a point in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It was a plus 55-point differential in the second half. That's called winning football. That's closing it out. That is, and I think part of that is, putting that investment in. And we've used this analogy before of, the boxer that goes to the body. That's, you might lose a round or 2 early, but you're putting in the investment that pretty soon that's going to wear down your opponent. That's going to bring those hands down. That's going to allow you to go for a knockout punch. Well, that's what the Steelers are doing in some regard. But we like more flash? Sure. Do we want better red zone percentages? Absolutely. And, when you think about that, okay, they missed 2 field goals. All right, well, the Steelers threw an interception in the end zone. You always look at kind of your own blemishes and think, well, if they'd done this, they would have won. Well, it's easy to say, well, if Tucker had made his 2 field goals, they would have won the game. Well, first of all, he didn't, and your guy went 6 for 6. And secondly, what happens if in the red zone you convert? What happens if Darnell Washington snags that ball out of the air that Russell Wilson throws? What if you convert 1 more touchdown as well? Well, what are you up to then? You're up to 29 points. You win the game. Mm-hmm. So there's certainly things that the Steelers could do better offensively, but that formula, again, it allows you to win without necessarily doing everything at an elite level, which I think takes me back to the beginning of this conversation and your ability to win games in different ways and not needing a strict formula of, hey, we won the turnover battle by 2, and they muffed the punt, and then that's why we beat the elite team. Oh, they can beat an elite team and not have everything go perfectly. And that scenario you're talking about, the first time I remember that really being a factor was when the Giants beat the Bills in the Super Bowl, and they just kept Jim Kelly and that what do they call it, the K-gun offense?
Mm-hmm.
They kept them on the sidelines, and those guys stood over there and their sweat cooled, and they're limbering up their shoulders and they're breathing on their hands, try to keep warm and rubbing their hands together and wanting to get out there, and you're just preventing them from being out there. So, I think they're, again, I totally agree with what you're saying, Dale. And on top of that, you put a little more execution on top of that, and who aren't you beating?
So one thing I've heard since Wilson's taken over is, boy, I like Russell Wilson. That's a nice find, blah, blah, blah. But they're still not consistent enough on offense. And how about this? I mean, the Steelers have put points on the board in 22 consecutive quarters played. That's the longest streak in the league. So if you can dominate time of possession, keep them on the sidelines, and every quarter you put up a point or more, it's just so much pressure to deal with. You can see why the end of games don't go well for the opponents.
Yeah. So first of all, my first question is that going to be in Matt's stats, or do I need to hang up now and write that down?
Oh, no, it's already typed in there. I just had to pull the laptop up to get the number right.
Well, if you're listening to this, or you're going to be listening to the show on Thursday, the game on Thursday, you're going to hear that stat again. That's
a good
great
one.
Stat. I wasn't aware of that stat. That's a phenomenal stat. And you're right. That's meaningful because it is you constantly putting pressure on the other team. But generally speaking, not always. Look, they got the turnover and they got a quick field goal on it. I think they picked up one down in that opening drive, one or maybe two. Then they wind up kicking the field goal. Largely, if you score a touchdown or kick a field goal, it's because you possess the football. Going back to what Dale was just talking about. So yeah, you've mounted consistent attacks, and I believe Russell Wilson's always been a good red zone quarterback. And look, I'm a believer that you win games. If you're an elite team, you win games, and then somewhere towards the latter part of the season, you begin to peak. There are a lot of teams that peak at the midpoint of the season, that peak in week 10 or week 11, that have fizzled out by the time you get to the playoffs. Now, we all want a team that goes 20-0, right? There's only been one undefeated team in the history of the NFL. So you need to be peaking as you get into the playoffs. You need to be able to find what you need to find as you get into the playoffs. And for me, that is one area. Turning. We've been calling it on the broadcast alchemy, right? It started in Vegas, where you go out to Vegas and you're trying to turn $5,000 into $20,000, right? That's everybody's dream in Vegas. Well,
that never works.
You're trying to turn three. Yeah, no. What's closer is you show up there at a $20,000 car and leave in a $75,000 Greyhound. But as the old joke goes, but I think when you talk about the alchemy, the Steelers need to turn 3 into 7 more often. It is wonderful to have the best kicker in the game in Chris Boswell, but you don't want him kicking 6 field goals a game, and unless that's what it takes to win. But you get into the playoffs and you're playing the Ravens again, or you're playing the Chiefs, or you get in a shootout. Maybe the Bengals squeak in, and suddenly somebody started to put points up on the board. You can't settle for field goals, and the Steelers know that. Mike Tomlin was asked about that today. He's like, yeah, I mean, sure. Of course we want to do that. And of course we want to get better at it. But it's okay. You still have time to get better at that. It's still 4 games with Russell Wilson. And not only 4 games with Russell Wilson, guys, but as we know, he wasn't there in camp. He was hurt a lot in camp. He wasn't taking a lot of reps during the season. This is like him starting, with the last 4 games. This is like him at the beginning of the season. So, let's give it a little bit of a time to evolve. And I think that's kind of the, barring health concerns or whatever, and as long as you maintain your consistency in other areas, that's sort of the last frontier for the Steelers is turning those field goals into touchdowns. And again, just forget the interception in the end zone. Just take 2 of those scores yesterday and turn them into touchdowns. And you got 26 points.
They snapped the ball 15 times in the red zone. That's a lot to not have any touchdowns.
Right. Right. Exactly. You need to have some touchdowns. But you know what? That's a tale for another day. On this day, you found a way to win, And again, I can't stress this enough. Like you find you can win in a myriad of styles. And that is, to me, that you have the ability to win in a myriad of styles. And that, to me, is the hallmark of a championship team. I mean, people forget last year, the Chiefs really basically won with their defense. I mean, that's what won it for them. Their defense was fantastic. But if Patrick Mahomes had to make a play, you knew Patrick Mahomes could make a play for you. You know what I mean? So it's not just – you're not just winning because you're rolling out there with a great defense. There's a myriad of ways that great teams usually can find a way to beat you. And, you know, the Steelers are – look, they're 8-2. Nobody's anointing them a great team yet, but they're working toward that. And I think have a greater expectation of reaching that sort of status than they've had in several seasons.
Well, the record says, and as Bill Parcells always used to say, your record is what you are. You are what your record is.
You are who your record says you are.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Well, right now they're 8-2. There are only two teams in the league that have fewer losses than the Steelers. That would be Detroit and Kansas City. There are only three teams overall who have two losses, the Steelers being one of them. So the record would say they are a good football team.
No doubt.
And, yeah, we'll see where it goes from here, Rob. But we'll see you on well, actually, we'll see you tomorrow because we'll tape our show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
Good.
And then calling the game up in
Cleveland before you know
Cleveland.
it.
Is this your first Cleveland game?
It is. Yeah, that was not my first Ravens game, but this is my first. This is my first Cleveland Browns game. Yes, behind the microphone. Yes.
Well, we will.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll figure something out to do. Maybe Wednesday night in Cleveland.
There you go. I bet you have an idea or two.
Maybe. But he is Rob King. We appreciate Rob stopping by, voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. We're going to get to a break. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, Matt, I thought Rob brought up an interesting point there that in the call. And we thank Rob for calling in as usual on a Monday, the day after the game.
Yeah.
I don't think we're not going to do him on Friday, though.
Who knows? This week is making my
This
brain
weekend.
hurt. Yeah.
Crazy.
Maybe. Who knows?
Missy's our Friday call.
Yeah.
We'll have Missy from. Anyways, the Steelers have now shown last week against Washington, or 2 weeks ago now against Washington, they can win a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
They showed against the Ravens they can win a tight game, a lower-scoring game. They've blown teams out. They've won the tight games. Like they can
Both
play
their losses by 3 points.
They can play any style you want to play.
I think that's true. I think if it's you're going to take away our run game and sell out, well, we're going to attack you over the top. Vice versa is absolutely true. I don't see a ton of weaknesses on the team. You know, I mean, like to nitpick, is mid-range passing or middle of the field passing a strength of this team? No. But it's not terrible.
Right.
I mean, like, what do they do poorly? And I think it's especially true with the defense. You know, like, if you want to go about attacking this defense, yeah, they're going to have lulls. I mean, there's a series here and there in every game where the team moves football. I mean, that's the NFL.
You catch them in the right play, whatever, the right
right.
call, and it works. All right.
But I don't know where I would choose to attack.
Consistently attack it is, all right. I don't know if that's going to work.
No, right. Or if you always have a special teams advantage. I mean, again, like turnovers and where are you bad? I don't see a lot of spots.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
styles make fights and all that. But what kind of boxer would give the Steelers the hardest problems?
I'm
not certain, you know?
I don't know. I mean, and we're going to find out as the road continues to narrow here.
I mean, this team's going to the playoffs. They're going to face Mahomes or, Lamar.
Allen
or
Herbert,
who knows? But, yeah, there's going to be good quarterbacks ahead.
But you took a good Washington offense and you kind of –
these were two of the best offenses coming in.
Yeah.
And they both had their worst day.
Yeah.
I mean,
it says
that's
a lot.
what happened, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now I think Baltimore's offense is better than Washington, but this was clearly Baltimore's worst day of the year, offensively.
Not even close.
Not even close by any way you look at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Any metric that you look at, it was their worst day. Is Lamar still the MVP? at this point. Because I see
Allen's making his case.
I see people trying to. Well, that was just a bad game by Lamar.
It was.
He's got to play him again later.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. I don't think that's enough for him to lose it if the voting were today.
They're also 7-4 now.
I know. They have some bad losses.
And they're now the Ravens are the 6th seed in the AFC, which is interesting because the Steelers are the 3 seed in the AFC. Now, they do have the tiebreaker right now over Buffalo.
Okay.
Because Buffalo has 2 conference losses. Buffalo lost. They got smoked by Baltimore.
Yes. Boy, that seems like a long time ago. Yeah, they did.
But the Ravens have lost to the Chiefs. The Ravens have lost to the Texans, 2 of the teams that are
No, not the Texans.
not the Texans.
Browns,
the Bills.
Raiders,
I meant the Bills. The Bills have lost to the Ravens. The Bills have lost to the Texans.
2 of the worst teams to lose against
Yeah.
because they don't play the Steelers. They beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
We're talking about potential division winners.
Right.
Is Allen the one nipping on his heels the most right now for MVP? His numbers aren't blow you away, but they just beat the Chiefs and Bills.
They're
are
9-2,
hot right now,
and yeah.
right.
If not him, I mean Goff. I know Goff had the 5 interception game last week.
Yeah,
but he had a perfect passer rating yesterday again.
they put up 575 yards of offense or something crazy, and yeah.
I mean, who are they losing to the rest of the way?
The one that's sitting there going, if someone could help me, Burrow.
Burrow's
playing like an MVP, but yeah.
They have. So if you look at what's remaining on Detroit's schedule,
Detroit, okay.
at the Colts this week,
Yeah.
Packers at home. They already beat
Big game,
They
yeah.
already beat the Packers there,
Yeah.
24-14. Then they play the Bills.
Oh, do that.
That's an interesting little game at
Potential
home.
Super Bowl matchup.
At home. So
in Detroit.
yeah, maybe the Bills get dealt another loss there,
Yeah, it's
which
very
would be
possible.
interesting.
Right.
Then they're at the Bears, at the 49ers. And suddenly
Doesn't seem like San Fran's year.
Yeah, it doesn't look like this is their year. And then they play the Vikings at home. So they've already beaten Minnesota and Green Bay at their places.
All right. Okay. I know they had played a high percentage of dome games. And
Yeah.
That's 100% true.
They go outdoors one more time this season. They go to the Bears on December 22nd.
What do they have, 2 losses now?
The other game, they have an outdoor game in San Francisco, but it's in San Francisco. The weather's going to be fine.
Yeah. And I know Goff is kind of a fair weather quarterback, but the rest of that team is built fine for the elements. This is kind of an anomaly that they have all these dome games. They've won, lost, or 2.
1,
I think they'll end up with 3.
3.
I mean, they're favored at every one of those games, but they're not going to run the table. You know, I mean,
Probably
that's just,
not.
you know, that's
I
how
don't
the
see them
world
losing
works.
more than 1 more. I think I
I mean, there's not a brutal schedule there, but they'll have a bad day here and there, you know.
But if they go 15-2 or 14-3,
Yeah,
and Goff continues to put up the numbers that he has,
yeah, he's got a strong case.
it's a pretty strong case.
Yeah, he does.
If you look at what the Ravens have left,
I don't know what their schedule looks like.
Chargers this week in Los Angeles. That's no
Harbaugh
gimme,
Bowl. Oh, that's far from a gimme.
especially if Roquan Smith is out.
Talking about familiarity. I mean, it's brother versus brother.
Then they play the Eagles at home.
Okay, I bet they're 1-1 in those.
At the Giants. Excuse me. Steelers at home. Texans on the short week in Houston.
Yeah, I hate that. But the Texans are on a short week too.
But they're
that's
at home.
Christmas Day. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they finish up against the Browns at home to finish the
I
season.
feel real confident there's at least 2 more losses in that pal.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 or 4, but probably 2.
Probably 2 at least.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll see.
Texans,
This-
Chargers,
This
Steelers,
week's game certainly a toss-up, especially if they don't have Roquan Smith.
Eagles are probably playing better than Ravens.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say the Chargers are playing better.
So
but
if
that's a tough
if they
game.
go 11-6 and don't win their division,
I think that's what'll happen.
can Lamar be the MVP?
He can't have any more games like this one. I mean, if his numbers are like they were going into this game, yeah, he can be.
Got to play the Steelers again.
He does.
That was ugly.
It was bad.
That was ugly yesterday.
really bad.
Again, he was 10 of 25 before that last
Yeah,
2-minute drive.
I know. It didn't look like the same guy, and
Yeah.
he really hasn't in any Steeler game that
Ever.
I can remember. Right.
Ever.
I knew there were some drops the last time he played, and there's things you can excuse away. But Zay Flowers should have caught that one yesterday, but that happens to every team all the time.
Pick a quarterback.
Yeah. That's not uncommon.
But the Steelers have positioned themselves well with that victory.
Massively, no doubt about it. And you'd much rather be division champ You know, like if I'm the Ravens, I'm not thrilled about going to any of the potential other division champs.
Potentially having to go back to Pittsburgh in the first round of the playoffs.
I forget who I was on with earlier today. I think if I'm the Ravens, I might rather go to Kansas City than Pittsburgh. I might rather go to Buffalo than Pittsburgh.
Buffalo, you handle pretty easily at your place.
I definitely would rather go to Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
because those games, if you play the Bills, it's going to turn into a shootout.
That's going to be a lot of points.
And I think that was Tomlin's kind of his thinking in this game. I don't want to get into a land battle in Asia because you can't win that. I'm not going to play Lamar the way Lamar wants to play. I'm going to make him play the way I want him to play, and we're going to play that offensively the same way.
Yeah, and I think the Ravens did you a couple favors that way too, getting away from Henry, things like that too. And I know the Ravens O-line we thought was going to be really bad, and it ended up being better than that.
Still pretty
bad. They were
bad.
overmatched.
They were still pretty bad.
They're still not good enough in the trenches.
Yeah.
And I know they had some pass rush, but on that side of the ball, the Steelers' D-line is way better than their O-line.
Yeah.
And it's better than every O-line they'll face, but it's still that gap would
markedly different.
That might make me the most nervous if I was Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And the next Steeler matchup is their front is a lot better than dudes we have blocking.
Yeah. It's a problem.
Yeah, it is.
So we'll see. A lot of football to play. Steelers got to play the Browns on Thursday night.
That's a losable game, folks.
They're 1-3-1 their last 5 trips up there.
Yeah, it's just the circumstances of it are terrible.
I don't like the circumstances either. Short week.
But if you go watch Saints-Browns, you'll feel pretty good about their chances.
You'll feel a little better. Yeah, you'll definitely feel a little bit better. Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. Welcome back to the drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, Matt, our DFS lineup, once again, we took a 0.
We used to be good at this.
We used to be very good at this.
Yeah.
We took a 0 from Ricky Pearsall.
I guess that could happen. I mean, the other two are getting all the targets, but Kittle was out. We didn't even know that at the time. We knew there was a chance.
Cedric Tillman. So let's take. So first of all, I noticed this last night because I started looking at our lineup and I started looking through what everybody else did. The contest we entered had 40 people. Now, this is a single entry contest with 229 players in it. And there were 40 people who had the same exact lineup. You're only allowed.
And it wasn't ours because they were listening.
It wasn't ours.
Right,
no.
right.
We had so that defies logic to me.
I think it's like nearly impossible.
Nearly impossible. So I sent a message to DraftKings about it. Have not heard back yet. I'm like, this. You might want to check into this because this boggles my mind just a little bit that there would be that many people tied in 35th place in the contest that we were in.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know enough about it. I just sit here and pick players. Is there bots or whatever that can do these for you?
That's what I'm wondering.
Right.
If there was a bot out there that picked that lineup and that's why everybody played it. So right now we have 84.58 points. We still have Joe Mixon going tonight, who was our biggest
it was
buyout.
a heavy investment.
Yeah. But the reason I started looking, I'm like, Justin Herbert was owned in 48.9% of leagues.
Which is insanely high.
In this particular contest, which is insanely high for – now, he was a bargain.
Yeah, you can see why he's attractive. We were attracted to him, too.
But 48.9%? I thought that's really high.
So it was all those ones –
All those ones.
Herbert.
Yeah, they all had Herbert.
So you don't gain anything on that.
We gained nothing there on that.
Because he was a win for us, considering what we paid for him.
Yeah. Cedric Tillman was owned in 63.8% of leagues.
Also somebody we owned.
Yeah.
Right.
He only got 7.7 points, so that didn't even help or really hurt us.
Mm-hmm. The Brown wide receivers, we'll talk about more as this week goes on. The Brown wide receiver situations.
A little strange.
Judy's kind of stepping up, but they throw the ball a ton.
Yeah. So we had David Montgomery in the lineup, which was good. 8.7% ownership. Again, good. He had 24.5 points. We hit that on the mark.
Yeah, that wasn't a loss.
Pearsall was but he was owned in 6.5% of leagues.
The other one was worse, though.
Yeah, Tillman was bad. George Pickens, 28.4% ownership. We got 16.9 points out of him.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Kelsey,
that's the one that killed us.
Kelsey and Hawkinson. Kelsey was owned in 10.5% of leagues, caught 2 passes for 8 yards.
Because we paid up for him. We thought he was going to be big in this game.
2 passes for 8 yards for Travis Kelsey in a big game. A game they lost 30-21, and Noah Gray catches 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah, I know. Just brutal.
Hawkinson, 2 catches for 13 yards in a game they won. 3.3 points. He was 7.9% ownership. The Titans' defense, 34.9% ownership. Now, we only got 4 points out of them. But
Were they one of the ones that
they were a cheapie
that everybody owned, or that the whole group owned?
Yeah. So we'll see.
Our good stuff got nullified by the masses.
By the bot that either that or somebody told all these people to enter this contest. I find that very hard to believe. I'd like to know how many contests was that lineup played in.
Unless there's a whole office just sitting there chatting about it. Like, let's all add one together. I don't
40?
know. I mean,
40, a round number. Insane. 40 on the nose. You got a problem, DraftKings. I'm just saying. Something happened there.
Those tight ends are what destroyed us.
Just killed it.
You know, Pearsall at least.
Pearsall at $4,900.
Yeah. I mean, okay, you're not going to hit on all your late guys. I mean, you'd expect them to catch a pass. I wouldn't hesitate to go back to the Hawkinson or Kelsey well.
No, I mean, that was just a bad game, and they just both happened to have a bad game at the same time.
Yeah, but we've not been good this year.
Not like we have been in previous years.
No, we
didn't finish in the money like twice last year. The year before that, we finished in the money, I think 13 or
it was well into the teens.
All but 1 week, I think. It's baffling right now.
The zeros are killing us.
The zeros are killing us.
But these were just bad decisions by us. I mean, it wasn't like someone got hurt in the first.
I don't know if they were bad decisions. As you just said, Kelsey and Hawkinson, you'd start.
Yeah, the process wasn't bad, but the results were.
Yeah.
You know.
Looking at this leaderboard.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Goff, 412 yards and 4 touchdown passes, 24 of 29. So he had one more incompletion than he had touchdown passes.
We've gone this long, and you still haven't told everyone how you beat me in our league. I'm shocked with your humbleness.
Like a rented mule.
I had a good week, too. I think I have like 120, something like that. A decent week. You blew up. And then you're like, oh, you should have started Goff. I'm like,
if you'd have started Goff.
Consider starting Goff. I had Jay Daniels. You're right.
You'd have had a chance. If you started them, but you
blew up.
You still wouldn't have won. But
Saquon, Breece Hall, you had some big dogs going.
I only beat you by 60 points.
Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
I didn't look after. I had Chase going last night, and you had Higgins, and Higgins actually outscored him.
Yeah. Jameis Winston, who the Steelers will see this week, 30 of 46 for 395 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 sacks in that game.
He throws it.
They will throw the football, and you have to take advantage of the mistakes that he makes because he will make mistakes.
Yep. But for pure fantasy, should he be in leagues?
Yeah,
I think
they're gonna. I mean, they can't run the ball.
All right, and their receivers aren't bad, including Njoku, and he's aggressive. You know,
yeah.
Obviously, leagues that penalize you for interceptions, he's a little less attractive.
They scored 4. He threw for 395 yards, and they scored 14 points.
I know, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they lost another starting tackle.
Joe Burrow threw it 50 times, and they lost 356 passing yards in that one.
Not
3
his
touchdowns.
Fault at all, though. I mean, he's been like a top 5 fantasy producer for quite a while now.
Bo Nix, 28 of 33, 307, and 4 touchdowns against the Falcons.
I think the Falcons had something to do with that, but Nix is very real. I mean, Drake May, Nix, these guys that run that are aggressive, even though they're rookies, are fantasy worthy.
Those were the only 300-yard games this week.
Okay, pretty low.
Pretty low. Anthony Richardson had an okay game.
He had a good fantasy game.
272 and a touchdown.
Completing passes again.
Minshew threw for 282 and 2 touchdowns.
Did he? Okay. A lot of it to Bowers, right?
A lot of it to Bowers. Yeah. We'll get to that in a little bit here. Just looking at the other guys. Caleb Williams had a bit of a bounce back, 231. He ran more in this game.
I think the new offensive coordinator could help him a little. I mean, they seem to have more answers, and I don't know if I'm running out and starting them right now, but you better pay attention to them. There's a lot of quarterback options out there right now.
Only 2 100-yard rushers this week.
Okay.
Saquon Barkley, 26 for 146 and 2 scores on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, Taysom Hill.
Ugh.
7
carries, right?
7 for 138 and 3 touchdowns. A 75-yard touchdown run. He had a fumble and he threw an interception.
Mm-hmm. Justin and I were talking about this before you walked in, before we hit record. He's been like on and off my lineup. I've almost picked him up 100 times. Justin was talking about how he starts him every time he's bad and he's on his bench every time he's wrong.
That is the Taysom Hill.
That's the experience, man.
Experience, yeah.
I trust him a little more now than I usually do, just because their receivers are crazy. I mean, they're poor. You know what I mean? So he has to touch the ball for them to generate offense. But as we'll talk about these next coming days, Browns defense is not real psyched up about doing the hard stuff right now.
No,
You know,
no.
they are a favorable opponent if they play like that.
It leads me to believe you might see a little more Justin Fields running some.
I think it's a great
stuff.
point. Why not? You know, I mean,
They obviously didn't defend it well last week.
I stole this off of you because we were talking earlier, and you mentioned that. I'm like, oh, that makes all the sense in the world. Older quarterback that's, played 3 pretty rough games. Maybe take a little bit off his plate physically on a super short week on the road.
Short week, they're not going to fix that issue.
I wouldn't think so. Right. I would think, mix in some Fields. Not to mention, again, this hurts for fantasy world, but if the Steelers get a big lead, I wouldn't mind seeing Fields close out a game or two going forward,
Yeah. Kyron Williams had 86 yards. Chase Brown had 86 yards. That was really kind of it this week.
Pretty lean.
Yeah. Receiver-wise, a whole bunch. 12 100-yard receivers this week.
Okay. There wasn't that many big-time passers, but all right, let's go through these.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 for 161 and 2 scores.
What's he have, like the 8-game touchdown streak going? It might even be more than that.
He had 11 targets.
11 targets.
Yeah.
He's close to wide receiver 1.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Christian Watson, 4 for 150, did not score. That's really tough to do.
Yeah, boy, he's hard to trust, though, too.
Yeah, I don't trust him at all.
He's like the Taysom Hill. Every time you put him in your lineup, you're not happy about it.
Pulls
And
his
he blows up on
hamstring.
his bench.
Yeah.
And maybe he's a good guy to trade right now if your deadline hasn't
If
passed.
your trade deadline hasn't passed.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, 9 for 148 and a touchdown.
Looks great. I mean, he's a welcome addition to a good passing game with a really good quarterback.
Jerry Jeudy, 6 for 142 and a touchdown.
He was the one in this game, but Tillman
still had 9 targets.
I'm saying Tillman's very involved, and I think he's the guy I still want to own. But Judy's been noticeably better with Winston. Elijah Moore is borderline fantasy relevant too. I mean, so those 3 receivers in Njoku with Winston, and as much as they throw it, and presumably losing a fair amount, have value.
Yeah. Brock Bowers, 13 for 126 and a touchdown.
I think they're smart, and well, they've done it start to finish. I mean, he's the entire offense. The running game stinks. Myers is a good player, and that's about it.
Yeah.
It's just volume.
Jamison Williams, 4 for 124 and a score.
I remember he had a long one, as he often does.
Yeah, 64.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty close to an every week starter in that offense.
Puka Nacua, 7 for 123 and a touchdown.
I think I prefer him to Cup. But that's when the 3 of them are out there, Stafford, Cup, Nakua, the offense is pretty strong.
Lad McConkey, 6 for 123, but did not score.
Big fan, though.
Yeah.
He's going to be really good and already is. He's their one.
Nick Westbrook Akine, 2 for 117, but he scored again. That's like 5 out of 6 weeks he scored.
Yeah, I mean, if he's on the field a ton, and Levis is playing a little better.
He had a 98-yard touchdown.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm going to say, where did all these come from? It
98-yard
wasn't that much
touchdown.
volume, right?
Hard
to argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't want to say he's startable every week, but he's not.
I think you pick him up. I mean, he's probably, when we talk waiver wire stuff, he's probably available.
He's kind of, since Hopkins left, he's kind of been their number 2 guy. And
yeah, and in any offense, if you're a capable player and you're on the field almost every snap, the math does itself.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, 10 for 110.
Good player. I think he's turning the corner that now we just trust him, and he's a quality fantasy option every week.
The bad thing is, so I beat you this week in our league. In the last 4 weeks, I've traded away Brock Bowers and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, yeah.
If I would have had them and started them against you, I'd have scored 300
wouldn't
points.
have had Breece Hall
Because I started Tillman.
Right. Oh, okay.
But it is what it is. Yeah, I wouldn't have had Breece Hall. Also blew up. So
Complaining you didn't beat me by enough. Won by 60.
Cooper Kupp at 11, 6 for 106 and 2 touchdowns.
Very trustworthy. Yeah.
Jonnu Smith, 6 for 101 and 2 scores.
I think I got that one right.
You got that one right.
Yeah.
You were on him in the preseason.
He's hurting Waddle.
Yeah. Kill him, Waddle.
Killing Waddle. And I don't quite understand it, but I kind of do understand it. I mean, he's a valuable weapon. I mean, Arthur Smith liked him. I mean, he does a lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff.
He's a top 12 tight end, right?
Definitely the way he's played the last few
yeah.
weeks, yeah. Juwan Jennings just missed 10 for 91 and a touchdown.
He might be more valuable than Debo.
He might be. He's
I mean, it's
chain
time to have
mover.
that conversation.
Yeah. He was certainly more valuable than Ricky Pearsall this week.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler, 8 for 89.
He's a really valuable receiver.
Yeah.
I think he's an every week starter in fantasy.
When we put together our captain's chair DFS lineup for the Thursday night game, he was in our captain's chair.
Right?
We'd have done very well with that lineup.
We didn't hit submit, though, right?
We did not hit submit. Pickens, 8 for 89, did not score, but
And they did a lot to try to take him away,
a
too.
lot.
I think
He had
that's
8
kind
for
of
89.
That's kind of a floor game.
Yeah. Marquez Valdez-Scantling did it again.
I'm still not biting.
2 for 87, 71-yard touchdown.
I mean, there's no other show in town, so that's important.
They chuck it deep.
They do chuck it
every
deep,
game.
But I'm fine picking them up. I'm just not hitching my wagon like, I got to start a receiver here.
Josh Downs, 5 for 84 and a touchdown. That
was really encouraging.
Yeah.
I mean, Richardson threw the ball much better, and they still featured Downs in a similar manner. I mean, he's a slot machine.
Yeah. Brian Thomas had 5 for 82.
Bright spot,
which is good.
Dismal the situation.
Because they really didn't do a whole lot.
They're going to their bye. I didn't realize that. I'm wondering why he didn't get fired yet, but maybe they're just waiting a day. But I'm not sure it accomplishes anything.
Yeah,
but,
at this point. David Njoku, 9 for 81, but did not score.
Kind of a top 5-ish tight end, too.
I expect a lot of Minka on him this week.
It makes some sense. I mean, make a lot of sense.
Justin Jefferson, 6 for 81, did not score again. That's kind of his floor.
Yeah,
That's
don't get frustrated. I mean, you own Justin Jefferson. You're happy.
Will Dissly is a guy we got to talk about. 4 for 80 and a touchdown. Herbert seems to like him.
Absolutely. The Chargers love him. I mean, this Chargers team was in cap hell when he took over. I mean, get rid of Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. The only thing that they went out and spent money on was Will Dissly. And they use him all the time. He's a good blocker. He's a two-way tight end. There's not a lot of target competition. I'm not saying that, like my son's had I forget it. McBride was on a bye.
Yeah.
He's like, should I pick up Dissly? I'm like, yeah, it's all right. And he was thrilled about it. That makes sense.
Somebody asked me in our comments last week when we were putting our lineups together, they asked for some, it was either starting Will Dissly or I can't remember the other middle-of-the-road tight end. And I said, well, if you can, pick up Dawson Knox.
Yeah.
And go with him.
Yeah.
I don't see Dawson Knox on the list here anywhere. I didn't look to see what Dawson Knox did. He wasn't bad.
I don't think he was great or bad because we were strongly considering him in TFS.
But he didn't. He didn't do what Will Dissly did.
No, so. Dissly might be a good DFS guy for us going forward when we're going to kind of cheap it out on tight ends. They like him.
I don't know how cheap he's going to continue to be.
The
last few weeks have been pretty good for him. But I mean, some of the stars weren't stars. Alec Pierce had 3 for 74, so they still went deep
down the field.
Yeah, he had a 39-yard catch in that game.
I think Pittman's like the least valuable of those receivers now.
Yeah,
even Mitchell makes plays when he's out there. Like that could be a good offense if the quarterback completes passes. They got a running back, they got a line.
Just got to complete the passes. Got to be able to hit the layups.
Yeah, he did once. See if he can do it again.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. Of course, we'll put him in our DFS lineup next week, and he'll do nothing.
He'll do nothing.
Yeah.
He ran a little bit more, and he gets in the end zone,
Absolutely. But that's this week's fantasy schedule. We'll see what happens tonight with this game.
We get the Texan battle here, Texans-Cowboys.
We need a huge game out of Joe Mixon. We can still finish in the money if we get a big Joe Mixon game. But
it's possible. I mean, he gets all the touches against a bad run defense, and they might have a big lead.
Yeah. So
he's important.
Absolutely. But let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And Matt, Mike Tomlin holding his press conference today.
Oh, right. Weird week.
Because of the Thursday night game. Said Alex Highsmith likely out this week. More out than in is how he put it. And he wasn't expected to play on a short week.
No shock, but maybe the long week after could be good for him. You're right. Could
be. I said Corey Trice could be available this week. They activated his 21-day or opened the 21-day window last week for him. He was able to get some limited practices in, so we'll see where that goes for him.
Do you think he would go above Pierre on the outside pecking order if one of the two goes out? I would assume so.
I wouldn't assume that right away.
I mean, Pierre's definitely active because of special teams skills.
Special teams is the key.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they're both active and Jackson or Porter goes down.
I don't see how they could both be active. That's the problem.
I see what you're saying.
Sutton's going to be active.
Yeah. Okay. So there's no rush for him then.
Yeah, they got another 2 weeks. They can
Mm-hmm.
kind of let him ramp himself up.
Maybe it'll work itself out.
Yeah. And Michael Pruitt should be okay. No injury issues coming out of yesterday's game, which was
That
the
was
big
actually
thing.
my next question. Is I thought Benton might have been bad.
He got up and walked off on his own. Tomlin
That
said,
was the one I was most concerned about.
Tomlin said, "No, he's fine."
Okay, even on a super short week.
On a short week, he's okay.
Good. That's key. That would have been a difficult.
Sometimes
guy
you take a helmet right on the kneecap or something like
it
that.
hurts like crazy.
Yeah.
And then it's not a significant injury. It's just painful when you're walking off.
At the time,
thing.
yeah. It's like hitting your leg on the coffee table or something.
Stepping on a Lego or something like that. That's definitely worse than what Benton went through, stepping on a Lego.
So, in that regard, the Steelers are in good shape.
That's great. I mean, for as late as it is in the season to be in that situation, it's not bad.
The Browns, on the other hand,
they lost another starting tackle for the year.
Yeah.
Someone that actually had a little bit of a bright future to him. Maybe
Dawan Jones got hurt again.
Yes, broken leg. I think it was an armor leg, but it's a broken ankle. I mean,
ankle,
it was a break.
So this is the second year in a row for him that he'll finish on IR. He was kind of nicked up during his career. At Ohio State, just a lot of leg there to.
It's a lot of. It's not easy to be on ankles with that much weight. I'm sure, but I mean, this was a break. I mean, it got snapped or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
Denzel Ward also left that game for them early.
Yeah, I don't know what his status is either, but they're pretty deep at corner, and the Steelers don't play a ton of 11, so they could probably get away with it. But he's a good player on a defense that doesn't look real psyched to be there, and even though they have good players.
Rib and ankle injuries for him. He's not playing.
He has
this week.
2 things.
Yeah.
I would be shocked then.
Yeah.
So Newsome would go entirely outside. I mean, they could survive it, but
they don't have a slot though.
They don't really have a third guy, right?
Yeah, that's the problem. So we'll see about that. I actually have an updated injury report here. So Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome hurt.
Oh, I didn't know Newsome got hurt in that game.
Yeah. So
okay.
They also placed defensive tackle Mike Hall on injured reserve.
That was their first draft pick.
Yeah, Jedrick Wills, if they would have practiced today, they did an estimated practice. He would not have practiced. They ruled him out last week.
I mean, he would be thrust right back in the starting lineup.
Yeah. Kevin Stefanski saying that Ward and Newsome are both day-to-day with injuries. They would leave them with – they've only have 3 cornerbacks healthy on their active roster. They only had 5 to begin with. So it's Martin Emerson.
He's a starter. He's good.
Cameron Mitchell and Mike Ford.
Wow. Okay. Would you attack them with more 11 than you usually do just to get those guys on the field?
I don't know if you have to do any
I don't know. You have to go way out of your comfort zone.
You have to do anything crazy.
Right.
I mean, I think if you had more time to prepare for this one, you might do stuff like that, but you don't have to.
I mean, I like the idea of getting Fields incorporated a little bit more, but, I mean, it's not like you have to spare Wilson. Obviously, you got to deal with Garrett. Tomlinson in the middle versus Frazier's a interesting, battle, but he's not a superstar. He's not Dexter Lawrence on the nose or anything like that. Fans will be happy to know that they played Devin Bush a lot. He played 3/4.
He was their leading tackler in that game with 7.
So you're going to see a lot of him. I don't think he's
jumping on people's backs.
Greatly improved his play and his stops since Pittsburgh either. Safeties are good. JOK's hurt. He's one of their better players.
Yeah, he's on IR, so he's not playing this game.
He's not playing either, right?
I mean, they just give up.
And they traded Ladarius Smith.
473 yards to the Saints.
Yeah. Without any receivers.
Without any of their receivers.
Right. Average O-line, a lot of Kamara, tons of Taysom Hill. It was a really bad defensive performance.
Yeah. 214 on the ground, 259 through the air. The Saints turned the ball over twice and still beat them 35-14. The Browns didn't turn it over at all.
And Winston did put it in harm's way a little bit. But, yeah, it's the box score doesn't quite add up. They moved the football. They threw the ball for a ton. And as you mentioned, they don't score any points.
So Nick Chubb is back.
Mm-hmm.
Last 4 games for the Browns, 77 rushing yards. In a game they lost by 7 to Cincinnati. He came back for the game against the Ravens, I believe it was. So that was his 3rd game back. They had 80 rushing yards in that game. They won that one 29-24.
Okay.
Lost to the Chargers 27-10. They had 79 rushing yards. Lost to the Saints 35-14. They had 66 rushing yards. And that game didn't get away from them until the fourth quarter. The Saints scored 21 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. I mean, they still have a good pair of guards, and Posick, the center, is a decent player. You would think they'd be a little more run-oriented, too. And I hate to say it, and I hope for his sake, because he's a guy to root for, even though he's a Brown, but Chubb is not close to the player that you're used to seeing either. And maybe this is the week he gets back.
I doubt it on a short week.
Really shocked.
Yeah.
He averages 3.1 yards a carry, and that's just not who that player is. And then Jerome Ford, he outsnapped Chubb 41 snaps to 20 in that game.
Yeah.
And he ran 20 more routes than Chubb. And I know Chubb's not known as a receiver, and Ford is the better third down back type of guy. But you're playing Jerome Ford 41 snaps. You know, I mean, it's not a scary guy, you know.
Here's the thing.
Playing from behind a lot. But
how many snaps did you say Chubb had?
20.
Okay, so he had 11 carries. He was on the field for 20 snaps. So it's kind of a tell.
Yeah, because Ford was out there for 8 of the 9 third down snaps.
Ford had 5 carries for 10 yards.
Okay. So when Chubb was out there, he was getting the ball.
He was getting the ball. Pierre Strong had 2 for 5. Typically, after a game like that, it's not like they're going to go and say, hey, we're going to make this a Nick Chubb game against the Steelers.
I wouldn't think.
Good luck with that. Like,
Right.
so he averaged over 4 yards a carry.
This was his most efficient game.
Yeah. But it was a lot of, not great stuff.
No, there's not a lot of great stuff coming out of Cleveland, period, right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in a bad spot. I mean, Winston's much more fun, and he's better than Watson, and their receivers are okay, but I'd be really concerned if I was them considering their tackle situation this week. And it was going to be a problem even if they were all healthy. I mean, if it was Wills and Jones, they'd still be in trouble at tackle against this group. But now I don't think either one plays. I think Conklin is back, but he's fine, and then you're trading pieces, too, on defense, and JOK's hurt. And I hate short week in Cleveland on the road, all that stuff, but Browns aren't very good.
They are not, and their kicker, Dustin Hopkins,
he missed 2, right?
He missed 2 field goals. So every kicker in the AFC North yesterday, not named Chris Boswell, missed 2 field goals.
Missed multiple field goals, yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. Browns have been looking forever. Ravens have had one forever, and now it looks like they might not.
He's no longer the most accurate kicker in NFL history.
Yeah, you remember you said that. That's
Eddie
crazy.
Pinheiro.
It's been that bad a year that he's lost that mantle. McPherson, to me, is a little overrated, too. Like, he came in the league, and everyone thought he was great.
He's an 80% career kicker.
Yeah.
I just looked at that. I'm like, where's he at? 80%.
Boz is
That's
ahead
below
of him.
average in today's NFL.
Boz from 50 is better than that.
Yeah.
50 plus. Right.
Boz from 50 plus in his career is now at 66%. He makes 2 out of every 3 kicks beyond, and he's been even better than that in recent years. Like
I thought it was even better in that period, actually.
If you look at it in his career, like the last couple of years, he's been ridiculous from 50 plus.
Yeah, you sent me something. He's 39 of his last 47 from 50 plus, which is 83%.
Oh, no, maybe that's his career.
I thought that was his career.
That is his career. Yeah, 39 of 47. You're right. Yeah,
that's 83%. That's better than McPherson is from all distances.
But if you just look at the last 4 years, this is when they really Mike Tomlin in 2021 really started trusting him to get those kicks. He had never had more than 4 attempts from beyond 50 before that year.
I remember early in his career, I never thought of him as a booming leg guy.
He was 4 for 4 in 2017. He was a Pro Bowl player that year.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, not so much. Well, then in 2021, Tomlin started using him more. Kind of coincided when the offense was kind of
Yeah. We need to find a weapon.
Yeah. So he was 8-9 that year, 7-9 from 50 and beyond in 2022. 6 of 7 last year, 9 of 10 this year.
50 and beyond. That's not even 50 to 60.
Yeah.
There's probably a few 60s in there.
There are a couple of 60s because the one missed last year, if you remember, he made it from 57 yards or whatever it was, or 56.
And they back up too.
And they made him back up because of
5 yards.
BS penalty on Sayamalu.
Yeah. That was last year, huh?
Yeah, that was last year. So, I mean, if you look at it, he's 15, 21, 30 of his last 33.
Wow. That's incredible.
34. 30 of his last 34 from 50 and beyond.
What he's doing lately is really incredible.
he's 33 years old now. You're not supposed to get better with age.
And he's more reliable with a bigger leg than ever.
Yeah.
And he seems to control his kickoffs really well, too. There was a lot he dropped, like, right at or right in front of the goal line, I think on purpose.
Oh, there's no doubt it's on purpose.
No doubt,
he can kick the ball through the end zone every time he wants.
I'm sure. But I think they wanted to force some returns here and there, too.
And that actually worked for them on one occasion because the thing is, you're going to give up maybe a return here or there.
Mm-hmm. But you might cause a fumble here and there, too.
But you might cause a fumble.
Right.
You might get a penalty. The Steelers backed the Ravens up on their one kickoff yesterday. They had a holding penalty, or no, it was a block in the back against Matakevich that pushed the Ravens back to inside the 10, I believe.
Certainly not uncommon to have special teams penalties as a return team.
Yeah.
No, I'm all for kicking to them. And the return team seems really strong, or the coverage team seems quite strong, too. And the punt coverage team is really, really good.
Unbelievable. Yeah, they're playing ridiculously.
It seems like a million years ago we were like, boy, they don't have any gunners.
Yeah.
They're fine there now.
So last year, Boswell was 29 of 31 on field goal attempts. This year, he is 29 of 30.
Wow.
So he
3 misses in
59,
well over a year and a half.
59 for 61 over the last 2 seasons.
Wow. I mean, it's remarkable. And they're not all chip shots. They're not all short ones at all.
15 out of 17 on 50-plus. I mean, it's been really good.
Really good. Like, Hall of Fame-ish good. You know, I mean, the best in the league good. That's where he's at.
What has happened to Tucker kind of damaged his reputation a little bit?
I would say if he comes back next year and he's the Justin Tucker of old, no. Because, like, Boz had a year like that, too, really, that were way subpar, that stand out. But if this is like the beginning of the end, or, frankly, if he retires after the year, I would say, okay, he knew when to get out, you know. And I'm sure the Ravens have to be in a sticky situation here.
They kind of are, and Harbaugh was asked about that today. He says, no, Justin Tucker's still our kicker.
He has to say that.
Yeah.
And, of course, he is still their kicker.
He said they're not going to do tryouts or anything like that. Here's the thing, though, Matt.
And they shouldn't.
Last 3 years, Justin Tucker's field goal percentage, 86, 3 years ago, 86.5 last year, 72.7 this year.
Yeah. 86 isn't great.
It's not, I mean, that's kind of league average at this point.
That's fine. That's not special. You know, this year's horrible. Again, if there's, he's got a groin injury, he's got an ankle or something. I get it. But it has to greatly affect now Harbaugh's way of thinking. You know,
I was talking about that with people yesterday at the half.
Yeah.
Like, the Steelers are up, 9-7 at the time. But Tucker had missed 2 field goal attempts, 2 make-up of like 47 and 50 yards.
Folks, those are turnovers.
These were not long field. They're long field goals by most standards, but not by today's standards, and certainly not by Tucker's standards.
Right.
Tucker in his career is 61 and 92
from 50 plus.
From 50 plus. Now he's
a lot of misses lately.
4 for his last 12.
Wow.
From beyond.
See, that's where you really have to consider things.
Yeah.
If you're Harbaugh.
I mean, he used to be.
But you have to play call differently.
2016, when he kind of burst onto the scene, he was 10 of 10
from
50 plus.
He was automatic. He was like Aubrey is now.
Yeah.
Boz is now.
Even 2021, he was 6 of 6 from beyond 50 yards. 2022 was 9 of 14. Last year, 1 for 5. This year, 3 for 7. And that used to be such a weapon for them.
Yeah. And where I was going with it originally about how they're in a sticky situation is he's going to be the kicker the rest of the year.
Yeah.
He's earned that, and he definitely is. And that's fine. And Harbaugh can coach accordingly. Do I want to trot him out there or not? I know he's not as reliable. He's not the player he once was. But then you go, well, he's also one of the highest paid kickers in the league. And he's not young. And he's been slowly declining and then fell off. Like, Justin, do you want to keep kicking? If so, I don't know we can pay you this money. I don't know that you can do it for the Ravens. Do you want to end your career as
somewhere else,
or should we put you in the Ring of Honor and send you on your way and hang it up and get on with your life's work?
Yeah.
You know,
this is year 13 for him.
Yeah, and it's been an amazing career, but it doesn't last forever.
No, it certainly does not. And you wonder if that's not going to bite the Ravens.
Now you wonder, right? Because that's
they get into a situation where they can either send Tucker out to kick a 55-yard field goal
in the playoffs.
Yep. Or do we go for it on 4th and 7 here?
Exactly. Now it never used to be a conversation. Now it's like, there's a lot stronger case for from going for it on 4th and 7.
Yeah, and 4th and 7 is no gimme.
No, it's great offense. It's very much a dilemma, right? There's everything about it sticky because of his reputation and how good he's been.
Yesterday we saw the Steelers. I mean, Tomlin didn't hesitate to send Boswell out there for what was it, a 57-yarder? Like, send him out.
And the whole stadium's like, he'll make it. I'm already writing it down. Another one.
Yeah.
But they need to get better in the red zone. And again, thank goodness he's as
the
good as he was.
57-yarders are great.
Yeah.
That's kind of gravy, but you don't want to have to kick the 3 shorties.
Mm-hmm. And he's bailing you out because what if he was missing, 5 more this year, like most kickers do? You'd be in a lot worse shape.
Absolutely, but he's.
I mean, there was a lot of aspects of yesterday's game, but in a nutshell, maybe the shortest answer to why the Steelers won is their kicker was better.
Yeah,
I mean, one was 6 for 6, and one missed 2 kicks, which are turnovers.
Boswell in his career has actually had more seasons above 90% on his kicks, making 90% or better than Justin Tucker.
Really?
I'm just 1, 2,
90's really
3,
good.
4, 5, 6, 7 of his 10 years, he's been at 90% or above.
And one of them was an injury year. I don't remember the other down year's reason.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tucker has 6 seasons out of 13 where he's been at 90 or above.
Okay, and you said Boz is 7.
6.
Both
no,
are
7.
6.
I said 7. No, 7 out of 10.
And he's got fewer seasons.
Yeah. Those 2 bad seasons that he had, 71.4% in 2022 when he was 20 of 28 and had a groin injury. And then, of course, everybody remembers the debacle of 13 for 20 in 2018. Again, a groin injury.
Mm-hmm. They both were injury-related.
Yeah. You take away one of those seasons, just one. He's the most accurate kicker of all time.
Then, right?
Yeah.
So, kick 3 or 4 more years. Don't have another season like that.
He's made 1 Pro Bowl in his career.
I think that's about to change.
It should. But then you look at Pro Football Focus, and Brandon Aubrey still got 4 points higher than what Boswell is.
What's his kick? What's Aubrey at this year? I mean, I know it's
he's
really good, too. I mean,
he's missed 2.
Away, too.
Yeah, I tweeted this out earlier.
I do think he's the only one in competition right now for Boz.
So his score on field goals is 95.0.
This is our Pro Football Focus grades.
This is the Pro Football.
I don't understand how you can grade a field.
Boswell is second at 91.7. Boswell, they're both 9 of 10 from beyond 50 yards.
Okay.
Boswell's missed was from 62. I don't know. I think Aubrey's was from 53 or something like that. I don't know. 7 of 7 for Aubrey from 40 to 49 yards. Boswell's 5 for 5. Aubrey has one of his other miss came from between 30 and 39 yards. So he's 4 or 5 between 30 and 39 yards. Boswell 7 of 7. Aubrey is 2 for 2 from 20 to 29 yards, and Boswell's 8 for 8. And neither one of them is attempting anything between 0 and 19 yards because you'd have to be on the 1-yard line basically to do that.
I mean, that's all I need to know. Boz has had a better year, but they're very similar. I mean, they're both big-time weapons and very consistent.
Yeah. Aubrey 22 of 24 overall. Boswell 29 of 30.
It still makes me crazy that how could he have a better PFF? I don't know why PFF.
I understand if they
yeah.
said he's slightly better.
Mm-hmm.
It's closer. The next kicker up on that list is closer to Boswell's score than Boswell is to Aubrey's score.
I still don't know how you judge that.
3.3 percentage point difference there.
I mean, do you get half a point for hitting the upright? I mean, I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine. I actually tweeted because I tweeted this out today. I took a screenshot of their grades and tweeted at Pro Football Focus to see if somebody would reply. No reply.
And you know they're reading it. Right.
I know they're reading it.
Yeah,
Somebody there's reading it.
Somebody's reading it.
Yeah.
I just still don't understand that. But anyway, Boswell's been amazing, and he's been.
See the Steelers MVP right now?
That's what I was about to say. I mean, I think the answer is no, but yes. You know, like, I'd rather replace him than T.J. Watt. I mean, obviously, but nobody's been better.
Right.
I mean, and they'd still be in the hunt with an
league average kicker. Yeah,
I think it'd still be in the hunt, but they'd probably have more losses.
They'd probably have maybe 2 more losses.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, with a league average kicker, maybe 5 more misses.
That's how good he's been.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to finish up the show right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And Matt, people are already starting to throw the T word around for Thursday night's game. Trap game. This is a big trap game.
I think it's a hard game. I mean, circumstantial. I mean, the team knows you well. Your last division loss was against these guys.
Right.
I don't see it as a trap game.
The one division loss you had last year was to this particular team.
Yeah. I mean, losing a division game
place.
is not a trap game or letdown game or Tomlin game. This is a game Tomlin always loses. We'll hear that for the next 3 days,
I'm sure, yeah.
Because no one loses the teams that they're
in their division.
That they'll probably be favored against.
Yeah, the Falcons didn't lose to the Saints last week.
Right. They were a disaster, right. Carolina's got some wins. I mean, it happens. I'll probably pick the Steelers.
I don't know, will you? It's
Oh, I know. I picked against them twice this year. I hate that team, right. They can't convince me of anything. I just don't think the Browns are very good. Yeah, I mean, I would be worried if this game's close late in the game.
Yeah.
I always look at road teams, especially coming off such a physical game that they just played, being at major disadvantages as the game goes on. But I was fiddling with some stats today, and the Browns are the worst first-half scoring team in the league, by far, just in terms of points they've produced. Steelers are the best second-half team in terms of points allowed. So that doesn't mean it's going to play out that way, but if you can get up on these guys and lean on them and run,
there's a good chance they might quit.
I don't think they're going to be thrilled about being there.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I believe that to be true.
Yeah. Could the Steelers lose this game? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like I said, they're
any game.
They're 1-3-1 in their last 5 trips to Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Let alone under these circumstances.
And we saw last year, for example, their defense was much better at home than it was on the road. I don't think that's quite the same.
It's not
split
the crazy
this year.
splits, and the defense is frankly isn't as good, period,
right.
or as scary, and is missing some pieces at this point too. And they've been on the field a lot this year, and don't seem to be thrilled about it.
But the Browns are an NFL team.
Yeah, and you think the Browns are going to get up for
Thursday night, and
they've been embarrassed all year, and you think you're going to get to their best game? Probably
so.
The Steelers, who they're not real fond of either. I would not take this game for granted at all.
And a lot of times in these Thursday night games, teams we just got to play to the fundamentals here. What do we do best?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't have a lot of time to study the opponent or put new stuff in or try this or try that. We got to go to our bread and butter.
And that's the NFL's excuse for why they'll put division games on Thursday.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with. I understand the line of thinking.
The problem is these two teams know each other. If they're division opponents, they know each other better than maybe the teams know themselves.
Yeah.
In many cases.
And again, I understand that, saying, okay, that you guys don't need as much prep time, but the games mean more.
Right.
So there's more on the line. I always think it should be AFC, NFC as often as possible on Thursday nights. Okay, you don't know each other, you don't have time to prepare, but a loss doesn't kill you as much as a division game.
Things might be really ugly, though, if you did that.
Thursday night football in general kind of makes me crazy.
Not great.
I mean,
it's not great.
The day of 18 weeks and 2 buys will be much better.
Yeah, maybe. More overseas games and all that good stuff. But
then they'll add more.
Yeah,
wrinkles,
we'll see.
Right.
I mean, I don't dislike the overseas games, but Thursday night games are not fun.
No, I just don't think it's high quality football or super player safety oriented.
Can't disagree.
Yeah.
Matt, that's going to do it for the show today.
All right.
So we will be back again tomorrow to continue previewing the Steelers versus Browns.
Like you opened the show, we got to get into Brown stuff more than we got
right into
look in the rearview mirror here.
I mean, we had to have a meeting today about our matchup show tomorrow that we usually do on Thursdays.
Well, right?
Yeah. I haven't had a chance. I mean, I was up last night writing and
recapping. Right.
I haven't dug into the Browns. Now, I've watched them a couple of times.
Sure,
this year.
sure. And they're not the most difficult opponent to break down at the moment either,
Yeah,
by the way. But, we will.
For my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, running the Justin Miller hotline, for Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure our video gets out there on YouTube, I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.